Corvette has a great history of racing at Le Mans, starting with a victory in 1960, which was commemorated at the 50th anniversary of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. A couple of years ago at Laguna Seca, those original Cunningham Corvette race cars were reunited. And that brings us to the present day and the brand new MRSLOTCAR C1 Corvette. Thanks to Marco at Electric Dreams, who's the global distributor for MRSLOTCAR, I was able to get an in-depth look at the MRSLOTCAR C1 Corvette. The first detail I noticed was the wheels. The knockoffs are a contrasting color and even have the lightning areas built into them. There's a lot of detail built into the front end. Headlight surround and the headlight lenses, as well as the running lights, are separate pieces. The same holds true for the rear lights, and the front grille looks great too. Inside, there's a correct-looking 3D Corvette interior, as well as an inside rearview mirror. Taking a closer look at the interior, you can see the authentic Corvette dashboard. The driver has a period-correct helmet, along with a set of goggles. Now let's take a look at the running gear of the MRSLOTCAR Corvette. The pictures of the car have been around the internet for a while, so let's go straight to the details. The first big feature of this car is it's an all-aluminum chassis that also features a motor pod. It's a new motor pod specific for this car. It's similar to the other MRSLOT cars on the market in that the motor pod rocks along the center line of the motor pod. I've done a video for the reasoning behind this type of motor pod, and I'll put a link in the upper right. There are bolt-on uprights to hold the front axle in place, and the ride height is controlled by the typical set screws on the top and bottom. The guide holder is also a plastic piece that's bolted directly to the chassis, and it holds a guide designed for wood track racing. In the motor pod, the axle rides in typical fashion of flange bushings. You can see here the motor pod is actually quite narrow, and the mounts for the bushings come up and out a little bit. The car uses slotted offset inline gears, which means if you want to modify the car, there's plenty of gear ratios to choose from. The car uses a fairly mild 18,000 RPM slim can motor. But again, if you so choose, there's plenty of upgrades available for this. Now let's look inside the body and take a look at the body mounting system. As you see here, there are 4 body mounting posts. On the chassis, 3 lugs actually hold the body mount itself in place. The float of the body can be controlled by the amount of spacers you use to mount the actual body mount itself. Here you see you'll be able to get as much body float as you want. The rear tires are narrow compared to contemporary GT cars. They're period correct, and I think given the power of the motor, this car is going to run just fine. However, if you want to make this Corvette from the 60s go like a current Corvette, there's plenty of space to put wider tires on the car. That wraps up my look at the MRSLOTCAR C1 Corvette. Here's a list of the various specifications for the car. MRSLOTCAR has created a brand new niche in our hobby. I can see this car being run totally stock at local clubs, with the only exception possibly being rear tires based on the type of track you're running on. I can't wait for the next 2 offerings from MRSLOTCAR, being a Ferrari 250 short wheelbase and an Aston Martin DB4. One final note, pre-orders are available now through your favorite dealer, and I'm sure this car will sell out, so make sure to get your order in as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. This is Jim Rose with NorCal Slot Car Scene.